Ladies and gentlemen, Cynthia, Tulmulty, Ollemar?
Yep.
Ollemar.
September 11th was my daughter's first day of school. I took my daughter, my 3-year-old daughter Sarah, to preschool that morning, leaving behind my 4-month-old newborn Caroline with my sister-in-law Patty and her 1-year-old son Ryan. I took Sarah to school, and we met her teacher, and we took our pictures, and I waited for school to be over. As we drove up the driveway a few hours later that morning, Sarah noticed that there were a lot of cars in the driveway, and she asked why. And I lied to her, and I told her that they were all there to celebrate her first day of school. See, I had spoken to my husband, Lance, earlier that morning when he called me from the 84th floor of the South Tower. He called to tell me that a plane had just hit the North Tower. He was fine, he would call me later, and he loved me. So now we pull up in the driveway, and we go into the house, and it's filled with people, friends, family, neighbors, everyone there wanting to know the same thing. Where is Lance? Have I spoken to him? And is he okay? And I can only describe what happened next in those next moments, hours, and days as controlled chaos. My house became like a command center, and I remember watching it unfold like it was a movie. I remember someone coming in with a fax machine, and I remember my girlfriend Lynn walking through the house with missing posters with pictures of Lance's face on them. I remember my driveway, my lawn being covered in cars, and my driveway being full of chairs. My garage became like a gathering place for people. But all these people found jobs. My mother helped take care of my newborn daughter. My girlfriends took the young kids places like Chuck E. Cheese and pumpkin picking. My father and my sister-in-law Patty would answer the phone, field phone calls, while I did things like call the dentist for Lance's dental records, gather his hairbrush and his toothbrush for DNA samples. My brother-in-laws, Lance's older brothers, James and Sean, and their cousins, Cuckoo and Blackie, they went into the city every day, canvassing hospitals in hopes of finding out news about Lance. Through all this chaos, let me assure you that no one went hungry, because the people who couldn't be there or didn't know what to do sent food, and lots of food, 3 times a day. And I remember that because I remember thinking, who could possibly eat right now? And hoping, secretly praying that one of those trays of ziti would be a case of wine. And one night, a box truck pulled up in the driveway, backed up. It was a big truck, thinking more food. And out of it, they started unloading pillows and blankets and comforters and coffee pots. My sister knew someone who worked for linens and things, and this was something that we needed. I lived in a house for 4 people, and I had about 20 to 25, maybe 30 people sometimes staying over the following days after 9/11. In the midst of all this chaos, controlled chaos, I remember my father coming to me, very serious, and he said, I need to talk to you, and it's not about Lance. And I remember thinking, what could you have to tell me right now that's not about Lance, that's serious? And he told me my grandmother had just died. And I laughed. I don't think I knew what else to do. It was sad. They actually told me later on that they actually had to put her on ice till they could figure out how to make the proper arrangements for her. And this chaos went on, but it wasn't without its moments where I got to have some thoughts of my own. And I remember thinking a couple of things. I remember thinking that we had just returned from the most wonderful family vacation, 2 weeks in Cape Cod. Lance had just taken his dream job And I had just taken a 2-year maternity leave from my teaching position to be with my 2 children. And this was supposed to be the time of our lives. I also remember thinking when we first started dating, when he got transferred from New York to California, that was the worst thing that ever happened. And then my girlfriend Lynn comes to me one evening and she says, Sean and James are on their way home from the city and they want to have a meeting with you. And I remember saying to her, I don't want a meeting. As soon as I see Sean, I'll know what he has to say. I remember standing in the kitchen that night with my hands on the counter and Sean coming around the corner, and he looked at me. And my knees gave out a little. The only other time in my life my knees have ever done that was on September 11th, when I watched the second plane fly into the South Tower. He looked at me, I looked at him, nobody said anything. We both knew Lance was not coming home. And everyone that was there, we all went in the backyard on my patio. It was a beautiful night, and there was music on the stereo. It was Garth Brooks. And we all got in a big circle, and we put our arms around each other. And these were the words that we sang. For a moment, all the world was right. How was I to know that you'd ever say goodbye? And now, I'm glad I didn't know the way it all would end, the way it all would go. Thank you.